Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Ketubot page 62, which discusses, depending on what your profession is, there is a obligation that the husband has that he needs to be by his wife, and he needs to be intimate and have marital relations with her for a certain amount of time. Namely, if, for example, we're dealing with a Talmudic scholar, a Talmud Chacham, so he is required at the very least to have relations with his wife Erev Shabbos, once a week on Friday nights. And if you have someone, for example, a sailor who's often on the seas and he's not home, so because of that, his obligation is only once in 6 months. Now, what happens, the Talmud asks, if you decide to change professions? And it's possible by changing a profession, you may be making a whole lot more money. But by changing that profession, maybe because of that, your obligation of intimacy is less. So on this, the Talmud asks this question. What if you were a donkey driver in which the requirement of having relations was once a week, and you're given the opportunity to become a camel driver, which is shifted to once in 30 days? So are you able to take this position, even if your wife doesn't really necessarily agree to it, or you didn't ask her? So is it necessary for you to ask her, and is it the right thing to do? So on this, the Talmud says you're not allowed to switch jobs. If that job is going to mean that you're not going to be home with your wife as much, that you're not going to be intimate with your wife as much. Why? And I quote the words of the Talmud. Rotze isha b'kav v'tiflos mi'asar kabin uprishus. A woman would prefer to have a husband even though he's only able to bring one kav, one measure of food, but tiflos, they will be together. He will be home more often, even though he could make 10 times the amount, but precious, he's separated. He's not home. Now, of course, this is telling us that this is the nature of a woman then, and possibly the nature of women today. Obviously, a woman wants her husband to be a provider and for them to be able to live a comfortable life. Very often, a husband will decide to work not 40 hours a week, but 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. And even though he actually believes this, he says, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for our family. I'm doing it so I can give you the best life possible. He has to realize that that may not necessarily be what his wife truly wants. In fact, the proper nature, the proper mindset of a woman is not that money is the absolute most important thing. Again, not that he should do nothing. He should provide. But if he's going to end up providing so much more money, but at the expense of him not being home, of him not being able to spend time with her, not being intimate with her, he would, even though he thinks it's a great thing, this is not what she wants. And therefore, when it comes to making a decision of what job I should have and the opportunity of switching careers, which will definitely cause you to be away from the house much more, you have to ask, what does she really want? And also you have to ask, what do you want? Because at the end of the day, it may be great that you have all this extra money, but if all you're doing is working and you end up having a relationship which is estranged because you're never home with your spouse and you're never able to be with your children, the question is that money really worth it?